Cool. Well, folks, we are continuing on our journey to build declarative agents using our Pro Code tooling. In the last few weeks, we've been crafting, creating, adding some instructions. In our second session, we've had started to add some capabilities. We added some embedded knowledge. We added code interpreter and graphic art. Now, today, we want to go a little bit deeper. We want to make sure that we can ground our agent with knowledge, including SharePoint content, Teams, web content, email, and people. This is really to build a useful yet powerful agent without really building something that is out of mind, that is really difficult. We're really just here configuring our declarative agent to take advantage of all the data sources that are available as part of the agent. So let me move on and see what we're going to do. So what is grounding? Why do we care about grounding? Well, groundings allow all the AI models to access specific data, so the responses are based on facts. It's not just based on what the model knows and tries to infer from your request. If you're working in an organization, you might have tens of thousands or millions of documents sitting somewhere in SharePoint. Well, you want to make sure that when you answer a question to a customer, that the answer is not coming from something that was made up by the AI model. And that is something that grounding provides. It provides hints, it infers your intent, it understands what you're looking for, does the search on your behalf, and automatically returns it directly to the end user. So while you can build something quite interesting without the grounding, definitely you can build something super powerful when you have grounding enabled, because you will really have what you want here, including specific answers and citations. And that's really where I think the declarative agent platform on top of Copilot is really powerful, because you have multiple ways to build that, right? If you've been building tons and tons of AI systems, you might have built something called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. What does it mean? It means like you are doing the work, you are collecting the data, you are managing the embeddings, you are summarizing the documents so your AI model understands that. Well, in this case, that's not what you do. You just say, hey, go look here, go look in that folder, and the platform will automatically does all of that on your behalf, all for you. So today we're going to ground in 6 different knowledge sources. So first, we're going to do OneDrive and SharePoint. OneDrive and SharePoint allows you to ground on document libraries, sites, files. You will, like for example, you will be able to have employee handbook, benefit, pricing sheets, or any documents you can think of that would live inside SharePoint. And we support hundreds of different formats of files. Teams messages. Think about channel conversations, group messaging, even meetings can be used as a grounding source. So think about that recurring meeting that comes every single week, where there's a wall of text in the chat that happens every single week, that there's the transcript. Well, now you can really have powerful conversations with these artifacts. Web search. Maybe you want to connect your external website internally, so people can ask questions that could be helpful to have when you're internal, so you don't have to go to your website and search for stuff. Email. Well, first, you can ground directly inside your user's Outlook mailbox or even into a shared mailbox. So that means that not only you can get the contact that you have everywhere else, but also that comes into your email. It's very personal and it's adapted for you. People. People allows you to ground on M365 profiles and org chart. So you can say something like, hey, I'm new to this organization. Who does my manager report to? And can you draw me an org chart based on my M2, for example, my second manager? And it can do that automatically, both using the people knowledge source, but also using the code interpreter that we saw last week to visualize the information that people can get. And finally, the graph connectors. You can ingest external data directly inside Microsoft 365, right? Well, now you will be able to also use that data directly inside your agent. So let's start with SharePoint and Teams. Let me go to my declarative agent here. So this is the same agent we had last week. It's my HR onboarding buddy, has a bunch of instructions, a couple of conversation starters, and I have code interpreter and graphic art already configured. I did one thing. I removed the capability of having embedded knowledge because I do believe that embedded knowledge and SharePoint sometimes might be conflicting in some scenarios. And in that case, I think it's preferable to have our document sitting directly inside Microsoft 365 in a real SharePoint site rather than being embedded with the agent. So the first thing that I did is I removed it. So if I go here, you're going to see it's very simple. I just have to say, I want to have my capability to be configured with OneDrive and SharePoint. It has a URL. Small little tip here. Especially when you're working throughout different environments, you probably don't want to hard code your URL right here. You want to use some of the mechanism that we offer you within the Agents Toolkit that is our environment variable. So now I can go here and go to my environment.local and see that, for example, my Java onboarding documents URL is this URL right here. So that way, each environment you're going to target, you will be able to change that. So your agent won't have to change, only your environment file. So here you see, you have this document right there, and now I can go and ask questions. So let me go open up here. Let me go to SharePoint, and I have my onboarding buddy. So let's go, and how many PTO days do I get? And now, instead of using the embedded knowledge that used to be the source that we used in the previous session, now it's going to go and use our HR site that is right here. So that's a human resources with a bunch of documents in the onboarding folder. And I just gave the location to Copilot. So Copilot knows how to handle that. And now if I come back here, I should have very quickly that information right there. Copilot is giving me probably at this point the best answer we're going to have all day. Now you can see that the employee handbook was cited right here and gives me a good additional detail here. So that is kind of the first thing. And then you can have as many as these URLs you want. You can target them at the site level, at the library level, at the folder level, at the file level. So it's really up to you to decide how granular you want to be in your knowledge. Second, Teams messages. Teams messages has a ton of capability, and I think it's super powerful. So in this case, I pointed it to a Teams channel. That Teams channel allows me to share tips and tricks about new hires. So here, if you go to Teams right there, you're going to see I have a couple of posts with a couple of replies. And as a brand new employee, something that might be worth it is, how's the cafeteria at Java? And now it's going to go and we'll find that. It's going to identify that there might be some content that live into Word documents. So in that case, it did that. Interestingly enough, it talked enough about it that it kind of decided that to use only that. And now let me try a prompt I used a little bit earlier. So how's the cafeteria? Is it any good? And now it's more subjective, right? And then now you're going to see that you'll have full reference directly from that Teams channel directly from there. So that's super powerful because now all that tribal knowledge that lives in Teams conversations and group chats and so on is now discoverable for your users. Another one that is really cool is the web search. And in this case, I won't do a prompt here, but we're using the Zava website URL. So now it's going to use the Bing index to allow me to search for it. I could just remove the sites here and not push push any of sites, and it has access to all the web. But in that case, I'm just putting the Zava website URL. Finally, I added two more. I added email and people. So I can do scenarios like the following. Who's my onboarding buddy? And it's going to look and try to find something relevant about onboarding buddies. And now I'm going to have Copilot answer that, hey, by the way, you received an email a couple of days ago about your onboarding buddy. And it's going to be able to tell me who's the onboarding buddy and so on. And then here you see it found, interesting, it found no onboarding buddy. It should have. Sometimes these things are happening. Let me maybe try a new, let me just try a new chat here. Who's my onboarding buddy? And because the reason why I want to show you that is how useful it is to go from getting that answer to then afterwards pile up. And then there you go. I got an email earlier today, and it's Daryl that is my onboarding buddy. So cool, but who's Daryl? And this is where the people knowledge source is super powerful, because then it's going to understand who is Daryl, who Daryl is reporting to, what's his role, what are its latest activity in the organization, and will give me a brief summary of Daryl with his email, his role, and so on and so forth. So within a couple minutes, I was able to infuse knowledge directly inside that agent that now is extremely powerful for us. We now have currently 8 different capabilities that we have discussed. And in the next session, we're going to talk about action. So far, we've been retrieving stuff within the M365 ecosystem. Next session, we're going to go out. We're going to find content that lives outside the Microsoft 365 ecosystems using actions for both API plugins and MCP servers to do both read and write operations. So talk to you all next week. Back to you, Vesa.